Hi, today we're looking at learning target 4C. This is day 2, and we're continuing to solve multi-step equations. All right, if you remember from the last video, as we solve these multi-step equations, the first thing we want to do is always check to see if we need to use the distributive property to get rid of any parentheses. Check to see if we can simplify either side of the equation by combining like terms. And then we can carry on by solving as we did with two-step equations by either undoing, adding, or subtracting first, and then undoing multiplication or division second. All right, so looking at example 1, we've got -5 times the quantity of W minus 3, and that's equal to 45. I'm going to start by drawing a line down the middle, and I am going to have to distribute because I have parentheses here. And so I will take this -5, I'm going to multiply it by each part inside the parentheses. Again, watching carefully for my signs here. This is a negative, and then I can think of this 3 as being negative because of the minus sign in front of it. So -5 times W is -5W, and then -5 times this -3 will become a positive 15, so like plus 15, and that's equal to 45. Okay, there are no like terms to combine on one side of the equation, so now we can start solving to get W by itself. To undo addition or subtraction, I'm going to start by subtracting 15 from either side so that this will cancel out, leaving me with -5W is now equal to 30. And then our last step will be to divide both sides by -5 to undo this multiplication, and that leaves me with W is now equal to -6. And again, check your answer by plugging back in. If I plug -6 back in, -6 minus 3 is -9, and -5 times -9 gives me positive 45. All right, example 2. We got 17 is equal to -8 minus 5 times the quantity of 6G plus 1. Okay, so before I can do any combining of like terms, I first have to get rid of the parentheses. So I'm going to have to distribute in order to do that. Now when we look in front of the parentheses, I have this 5 here, but it's not just 5, it's really -5, because when I look in front of the 5, I see this minus sign, so that stays with it. It might be helpful for you to rewrite that subtraction and think of this as -8 plus -5 times 6G plus 1. Because again, we want to make sure that we're distributing a negative number here. All right, so we're only distributing this -5 to what's inside the parentheses. So I'm going to keep 17 on the left side here, keep my -8 plus, and then -5 times 6G is -30G, plus -5 times 1 is -5. Okay, now that we've cleared out the parentheses, we can look to combine like terms. So on the right side, I've got -8 and -5 are both constants, meaning they don't have a variable in them, so I can combine those together. -8 plus -5 adds up to -13. So I now have 17 is equal to -13 plus -30G. All right, and so now we've done all the simplifying we can do, and we can start to use our inverse operations to solve. What would be the next step in solving this equation? Okay, hopefully you said we're going to take care of this -13, so we will add 13 to both sides so that this will cancel, leaving 30 is equal to -30G. And our last step, to undo this multiplication, we'll divide both sides by -30, and that means G is going to equal -1. All right, let's try another one. Okay, this type of equation is one that you haven't seen yet before. And so the important thing with this type of problem where you have this giant fraction bar or giant division bar is to think of that as sort of a grouping symbol. It's grouping everything on top together and saying you're taking whatever that result is and we're dividing it by 9, and that should be equal to 3. So as we go to solve, we're going to approach this a little bit differently. We first need to clear out the fraction, so clear out that denominator. And to do that, we're going to undo that division, so we will be multiplying both sides by 9. That clears out the fraction, leaving me with just the numerator. So I now have k minus 4 is equal to 27. After that, then it's just solving as usual. And so to get k by itself, I'm going to add 4 to both sides, leaving me with k is equal to 31. Okay, so let's take a look at another one that's similar to that. I've got 3t plus 5 divided by 8 is equal to -5. All right, what does our first step need to be? Okay, we're going to clear out the fraction by multiplying both sides by 8, because again, that's the opposite or inverse of dividing by 8. So multiply by 8 on both sides. It'll cancel out here, leaving 3t plus 5 is now equal to negative 40. Okay, what would our second step need to be? Okay, we're going to subtract 5 from both sides, leaving us with 3t is now equal to negative 45. And our last step, we'll divide both sides by 3, leaving t is now equal to negative 15. Okay, and example 5. So 8c minus 4 divided by 7 is equal to 12. Okay, so first step, we're going to need to clear out our fraction, so we will multiply both sides by 7. This will cancel, leaving 8c minus 4 is now equal to 84. What would our second step need to be? All right, we're going to add 4 to both sides, leaving us with 8c is equal to 88. And our final step, what would that need to be? Okay, we're going to divide both sides by 8, leaving c is now equal to 11. All right, and so now that we've looked at a few more examples of solving these multi-step equations, here's one for you to try on your own. And so you'll enter in what you think your answer is and then bring that back with you to class tomorrow to go over. And so we're looking at 2x plus 5 times the quantity of x minus 4 is equal to 8. So again, as a reminder, you're going to want to start by using the distributive property, then combine any like terms that you might have, and then move on to solving by undoing adding or subtracting first, and then undoing multiplying or dividing last. All right, and so for the last thing to wrap up, please make sure you record something you either learned or were reminded of, and any questions that you have. All right, thanks for watching.